And another pleasurable day to one and all. So good to see you all here today. It's Dr. Steve and Dr. Tim, the Ouch Doctors, and we've got lots of interesting things to share with you today, all about your self-talk. So get ready for an awesome conversation about self-talk. See you in a minute.
Hey y'all, Dr. Tim Warren here, and of course with Dr. Steve Taubman, and we are the Ouch Doctors. So we are excited to bring you another episode of New Thinking About Old Pain. And our YouTube channel and free gift at theouchdoctors.com, emphasis on theouchdoctors.com, because I went to the Ouch Doctor and it was another fine doctor at another place doing some other stuff. So, but we're theouchdoctors.com. That's where our stuff is, and that's where our free gift that we're going to talk about later at the end of the today is at. So, Dr. Steve, tell me about self-talk here.
I'm so excited to talk about this. It is at the foundation, at the base, at the root of most of our suffering, whether that suffering be physical or mental. And I want to show you all a picture to get us jumping into this concept. That hideous looking person in the middle there, that's me at the age of 13. That's my bar mitzvah. And those are a couple of my schoolmates who I invited to my bar mitzvah. They were way more popular than I was, but they came probably for the free food. But the point is that when I looked at myself in the mirror back at the age of 13 and I saw that face staring back at me, I was 100% convinced that that was one ugly, ugly face. Probably one of the ugliest faces that existed. I couldn't even believe that I was tolerated in school. I was so embarrassed and humiliated to have to walk around looking like that. Again, like that. Okay, now I look at that picture, I think that's kind of a cute kid. So now, you know, probably the truth is somewhere in the middle, but the bottom line is that that was definitely not a picture of a hideous, deformed, malfunctioning human being, but that's kind of what it felt like on the inside. And it felt that way for a long time in my life until I began to learn that our reality is colored by the things we tell ourselves. And that from a very early age, most likely because of certain ways in which I felt that I'd been bullied or abused or neglected or whatnot, I developed a story, as we all do. We develop a story of who we are and how we fit in or don't, and what we're good at and what we're not good at, and how good we look. And you know what's interesting? As a hypnotist now, looking back at then, I realize, and you've heard me talk about this before, that we're all hypnotized. We are programmed to see things through a certain lens. And it doesn't make any difference whatsoever what quote unquote reality is or what common agreement is, because our filters are so thick that when we look at ourselves in the mirror, what we see is our self-image. And that is one example of the way in which our self-talk, the things we're saying to ourselves, has a direct, remarkable, and incredibly potentially painful effect on our lives and on how we then end up living our lives. Now, the other interesting thing, Dr. Tim, is that once we have established that this is who we are, once we have set in motion this particular script, which we're calling our self-talk, we then begin to find more and more evidence to support that script. In other words, our self-talk is not merely descriptive, but rather predictive.
Wow.
Powerful thing to understand. When you realize that the things you're saying to yourself that you think are simply you reporting on reality, what you're doing in the process of saying those words is creating your future reality. And so you start to filter your reality based upon that through what we call confirmation bias. And then you only see things that support your pre-existing belief system. Now, how does that apply to pain? Well, your pain, Dr. Tim.
Before you go there, there's so much you just said in like a few words. So I know you're the man with hypnotism.
Yeah.
And and you say that we live our life hypnotized. You talked about the stories that we tell ourselves, and our self-talk kind of makes up our stories.
Yeah.
And our story is like our subconscious our subconscious self that we constantly feed into and build the neuroplasticity to. But I'm lost a little bit on how I want you to kind of just explain a little bit about how we're all hypnotized. Is that because it's our subconscious mind that runs us? What is it?
Yeah, so hypnosis is the process of implanting beliefs into the subconscious mind by moving aside what's called the critical factor, or the supposedly the guard that stands guard over your conscious mind. So in whatever way information makes its way into your subconscious mind, where it then gets to live a life of its own and then direct you and point you toward all of the perceptions that you later have, first what had to happen was you had to have opened up and let that stuff in. Now, sometimes that happens through literally hypnotic processes, somebody speaking softly and gently to you until you start to become a little bit woozy and you start to displace your ability to spot the difference between reality and illusion. Sometimes it happens because our deference to authority is so powerful that when an authority figure tells you something, it's instant hypnosis. It instantly becomes part of your internal belief system because you've relegated that belief system to the authority. Now, that is very powerful in medicine. When the doctor says, well, you're always going to feel that way, or you only have 3 months to live, or this kind of problem doesn't have any solution, or we've got no way of fixing this. These are all proclamations that become self-fulfilling prophecies once they become accepted by the subconscious mind.
It's unbelievable that we even survived this life of ours, But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's one more way that this subconscious is affected by the conscious. I almost visualize it like a trap door between the conscious and the subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
I think strong emotions
Yes,
are something that can bring it into and really make that story.
absolutely. So trauma,
Uh,
it's in our prior traumas of our lives, those things that were profoundly emotionally stirring to us, in those sudden moments of fear or anger or loneliness, when we've got a strong emotion, again, we become more open to suggestion. Now, sometimes the hypnotist is ourselves. And a good example of that was a young man I was working with today, 21 years old, who at the age of 7 lost his mom. Not that she died, she just left. And he was so profoundly stirred and taken and saddened by that, that he very soon thereafter began developing profound anxiety attacks. He'd wake up in the middle of the night with his heart pounding. And it was really a 7-year-old who didn't know how to deal with his own emotions. He was living in a very dysfunctional home where nobody else knew how to give him support around his emotions either. And so he built a construct. He hypnotized himself into believing that he was unworthy, that he was wrong to have emotions, that these emotions themselves were perfect proof that he was unfit for the world. And he's been living with that for the last 14 years and experiencing excruciating pain. And the only way that he's been able to even get as far as he has is through what you and I, Dr. Tim, might call self-medicating, which means drinking or smoking weed or any number of other techniques that we like to use, maybe sitting down in front of the TV for too long, or bad relationships.
Eating, sugar addiction, whatever.
So what I thought I would want to do today is, first of all, I think we've laid the groundwork for us to understand that we start with, of course, the best of intentions growing up, right? We want to be happy and healthy and have nothing but good things to say about ourselves. But trauma and programming in a variety of forms ends up causing us to believe certain things, to create certain stories inside of ourselves that we then begin to take on the reins and tell to ourselves over and over and over again. And each time we tell them to ourselves, it becomes more and more real because we begin to amass more evidence of our own unworthiness, of our own hopelessness to overcome our pain or whatever it is. And so the first thing we need you to understand is that you unwittingly, and certainly not because you want to, are contributing to your own pain by speaking about your pain in a certain way, by talking to yourself, whether out loud or silently, about your pain in a certain way. So I wanted to share a few of the cardinal rules of talking to yourself, so that when you're talking to yourself about pain, you get the luxury of detaching yourself from it, moving away from it, rising above it versus reinforcing it and deepening it and making it worse. How's that for a setup?
Just let me have it.
Okay.
Before we get there, can
Yeah.
I say what a handsome, awesome looking kid you were? I mean, that's shocking to me. And it reminds me of people who suffer from anorexia. They look in the mirror and they don't see themselves. They see just obesity and
Yes.
fat and drippiness and disgustingness. And they
Mm-hmm.
might be 70 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you could look in the mirror. You're a wonderfully handsome boy, probably better looking than all the bullies that made fun of you. And yet you saw yourself as not as something less than the ideal that nobody would ever want.
There you go. That's exactly right. And so I implore those of you watching this to, to follow the mantra that that I've been sharing in my books and my speeches for the last 20 years, and that is, don't believe everything you think. Right? Just reject those perceptions that create that belief system, because I believe it was Einstein who said the truth is beautiful. So if it isn't beautiful, it's not truth.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And look what Jason Freeman says. I just posted it.
Oh, let's see, Jason. Sometimes the hypnotist is ourselves. Well, yeah, that's exactly right. Jason is one of
Amy says you're handsome.
Woo! Okay, I'm
like,
so glad to be here. Thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. And Jason, I love you and I appreciate you. This is so cool. This is such a topic of importance. And, Jason and I have had this conversation many times because we both grew up with self-judgments that have colored our beliefs about what we can do. And once we began to reject those self-judgments and discovered all the incredible opportunities that we had to make a difference, our lives got better. And so did the lives of the people we got to touch. Right. And that's the thing that just profoundly moves me about this. So let me jump in a few aspects of the pain self-talk and how we can rise above pain self-talk, if you don't mind. Number one, because words, because language, because the thoughts that we have and the way that we speak our words are not just descriptive, but are predictive. Therefore, you can't say anything that you don't want to have come true. You can't say this pain never goes away. It's not just about talking about it as if it were happening in the future. I'm not saying, don't say, I'm going to have this pain forever. That is a future statement. What I'm saying is, don't even say, I walk around in constant pain. Don't describe it in a way that could be easily interpreted by your subconscious mind as a directive for how you should continue to be.
Right. I always do this, or you always do this, or it's incredible. And that's why I can't go on these pain Facebook groups very often, because they're all about that. And whenever you try to add a sane idea like that, you're totally bombarded with hatred about it. So I can't do those sites anymore. But
yeah, because again, people are they're speaking their pain into re-existence. Okay, and
the neuroplasticity and making it more chronic.
Yes, building and deepening those neurological pathways. And so immediately, as soon as you catch yourself saying, I always have this pain, or, this pain just never goes away, or my whole life is pain, or this is killing me. That's a slightly different topic. But as soon as you find yourself doing that, the next thing you want to do is you want to put it in the past tense. I used to have this constant pain. I used to feel this ache or pain. See, that's descriptive, but it's also not predictive. It's simply a statement of a fact about something that has already passed, but it empowers you to create a new future. Your past does not equal your future.
Right. Right.
The second principle, aside from not speaking it into existence by making it present or future, but only making it past, is the idea that that the quality of the words that you're using also have impact. So I said, for example, this is killing me. That is a predictive statement, and it's not a good one, right? Don't exaggerate your pain. Don't speak it into a worse level of pain than it is. You want to get to the point where you can be very backstage to your pain. Backstage meaning just to be able to observe it. without reacting and tensing to it. So one way to do that is to watch the adjectives you use. Dr. Tim has talked in the past about discomfort versus pain, looking at those distinctions and finding ways of distinguishing when you're on that line, err on the side of lesser descriptive words than the greater descriptive words. Is it making sense to you, Dr. Tim?
Absolutely. Yeah. And Jason asks, so how should we describe pain in the moment it's in our body? And can I take that one just for now?
Yes, please, by all means.
The thing that I've talked about in the past is, and Dr. Steve was talking a little bit about observing, being out observer of our pain, and with kindness, with self-kindness, not being hard on ourselves, just observing, and then just the act of that kind of decreases pain. But I also like to have my clients, my coaching clients, rename their pain into something that's not even the word pain. I call when I have chronic pain, when it flips out on me for some reason, I call them ice axes, because I'm a former world-class mountaineer, and ice axe is safety to me. And my pain is not pain, it's an ice axe, which is a cool thing that I can swing and I can protect myself and I can climb big mountains with. Other clients of mine have named them Legos. Some have named them turtles, something innocuous. And then in the curable community, which is a nice online mind-body chronic pain space, they call their pain bananas. So just rename it into something cool.
See, renaming is reframing.
Right on.
Yeah. The third principle that I wanted to share around this that kind of rounds it out is the idea of being clear about what you want versus what you don't want. So often Dr. Tim and I will take on a client and we'll say, well, what's going on? People will describe their issue, and they'll usually, as I said, describe it with self-talk that doesn't support them, because it's, oh, I've always got this and I've never got that. And then we'll say, well, what do you want? And they'll say, I want this pain to go away. I just want this damn pain to go away. And when you're concentrating on the thing you want to not have, you're not actually moving toward the thing you do want to have. So what you want to do is you want to start speaking to yourself in the language of what you do want. So instead of saying, I want this to go away, you say, I want freedom and ease in my body. I want to see myself running and playing. And then you start to create visualizations around that. But again, all of the language that you use pertaining to your pain actually reinforces your pain, because pain, your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a positive and a negative. You say to your kid, you say, don't spill the milk. Well, more likely they're going to spill the milk. Instead, you say, set that back a little ways on the table, or you give them a positive instruction versus what they shouldn't do. And we are so completely immersed in this idea of what not to do that we don't even realize we're doing it. So again, the three primary things we talked about here. Number one, we said is, yes.
No, I'm here.
You're giving me the one.
Number one.
Yeah. What was number one? I'm all the way through into number three. I think not rejecting the pain. Was that where we started out here? The language you're using?
Self-talk of, well, the last one you did was you never and you always, those kind of statements.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. So then the second one, of course, is understanding that your language is predictive and not as well as descriptive, and therefore use past tense language versus future tense language. And the third one is to describe what you want, not what you don't want.
And that dovetails into our intentions, the way we see our lives down the road. And again, not to focus on, well, I want to be out of pain in 3 months. Rather, I want to be able to pick up my grandchild with perfect confidence and play with them. Or I want to get on the ground and I want to play with my great-grandchildren or whatever it is. And, a positive something like that, a positive intention for the future rather than I want to get out of pain. That would be a wrong intention to have.
Now, let me also speak to this thing, Dr. Tim, the idea that when we're in a lot of pain, we feel that much more justified to describe it in very, very glaring terms, and also to express our hopelessness about it. This kid that I was talking to today, this 21-year-old kid, while I was trying to do processes with him to have him calm down and reflect on the feelings in his body, he was feeling really, he was so caught up in focusing on the emotional pain. His pain was more of an emotional pain, a high anxiety sort of pain. And he'd be like, yeah, but when is this going to go away? Yeah, but I always feel this way. Yeah, but, and so what does he have? What he's doing, he's reinforcing it, because at that point, still yet unwilling to refocus his attention on the here and the now. In the here and the now, there's nothing wrong. There are sensations, and that's all there are, is sensations. And sensations can be born. You can bear your sensations. It's when you add insult to injury, when you start adding thought to it. Thank you, Dr. Eric, by the way. Call him Dr. Eric. I don't know why. I think Eric is like, our personal development guru doctor. Is this idea that you feel this need to like express it and say it and feel like it's hopeless, but you've got to be willing to just sit with the process, sit with the practice, and notice the thoughts as they happen. So one of the things that I taught him to do, and this is going to be his homework for this week, I'm going to give you a little bit of different homework this week, but his homework for this week, and by the way, Eric, stick around. The homework for this week is sort of from you. So you'll see what I mean in a second. What I suggested to him was every time he's out walking and he starts thinking, oh, but this will never go away, or what, why do I even have to deal with this? And all the things that go through his mind, he has to just say the word thinking to himself. Thinking, it's just a thought. The thought is what causes the additional suffering. Thinking, then go back to the point of focus, which is not those kinds of thoughts, right?
Right.
So I do have a little bit of homework for you all here today as well.
Yay!
Hey, and so the one big tip, so to speak, for today is Eric has a thing he calls, I think, his credo, or Eric, if you want to give us the correct name for it, but he's got, he actually put it on a postcard, and it's on his mirror, and he stuck one on my mirror when he came to visit me. And it was like, I am awesome. Every day is a great day. And it was basically a series of very powerful affirmations that he reads to himself every single morning. And so I'm going to encourage you to write your own set of affirmations. Now, an affirmation in and of itself, by itself, may not change everything for you, but we want to focus you on the positive. We want to get you in the habit of thinking positive thoughts that are not the same as the negative ones that you're using. And so if it's about pain, then, my body is functioning properly. I am clear and easy. I breathe easily and effortlessly. I have fun every day. I'm able to focus on the beauty around me. Write something like that up and read it to yourself every day and see what happens.
Steve, I love that. And also, you always start with an I am. You put I am before the statement. So I am alive, alert, well, and enthusiastic.
Absolutely.
So it's an I am, and then you add the cool stuff at the end.
There you go. So that's your homework for this week. And I think we wanted to also say a word or two about our gift and make sure everybody's aware.
And before we get there, Dr. Steve, tomorrow's show, I am so fired up for this. It's how to hypnotize yourself. I would prefer to say how to hypnotize your bad self. And so tap for tomorrow, and I'm fired up for that one. And yeah, of course, go to theouchdoctors.com and download our free get out of pain kit. What's it called? I always flub this, but
I put it right there for you. Pain relief flow chart, and the freedom from pain kit.
Freedom from pain kit. So go to theouchdoctors.com and put your email in there and download that kit. And we're really proud of it. And this is the first incarnation of this kit, and that's why it's free right now. We would love your feedback. We want to make sure that everything makes sense in it. If there's things that just don't make any sense, or you're losing it, or we're not doing a good job of describing it, please let us know, because we need to make this as good as it can be. So please do that. And if it's awesome, great. But if could be more awesome, that's what we really want to know.
Right. Yeah, please do. And so, Dr. Tim, how do you want to wrap things up for today?
I'm going to suggest train your brain.
Lose your pain.
Right on.
Take care, guys.